Corruption in Africa. Corruption is the abuse of power or position for personal gain, often at the expense of the public good. It occurs when individuals or organizations in positions of authority misuse their power to benefit themselves, their families, or their associates, typically through illegal, unethical, or dishonest means. Corruption can manifest in various forms, and it affects both public and private sectors. Corruption in Africa is a pervasive issue that significantly impacts the continent's development, governance, and social fabric. It manifests in various forms, including bribery, embezzlement, nepotism, and the abuse of power, and it affects nearly every sector of society. Here's a detailed examination of corruption in Africa, its causes, consequences, and potential solutions. 1. Forms of corruption in Africa. Bribery. The most common form of corruption, where individuals or businesses pay government officials to secure contracts, licenses, or favorable decisions. Embezzlement. The theft of public funds by government officials, often involving the diversion of money meant for public projects or services. Nepotism and cronyism. Favoritism shown to relatives or friends in appointments to positions of power, leading to inefficiency and unfair practices. Vote buying and electoral fraud. Corruption in the electoral process, including buying votes or rigging elections, undermining democracy and the legitimacy of governments. 2. Causes of corruption in Africa. Weak institutions. Many African countries have fragile institutions that lack the capacity or independence to enforce laws and regulations effectively. This creates an environment where corruption can thrive. Poor governance. Inadequate governance structures, including a lack of transparency, accountability, and checks and balances, contribute to the prevalence of corruption. Poverty and economic inequality. High levels of poverty and inequality can drive individuals to engage in corrupt practices as a means of survival or enrichment. Colonial legacy. The legacy of colonialism, which involved the extraction of resources and exploitation of local populations, has left a lingering impact on governance and economic structures, contributing to corruption. Cultural factors. In some cases, cultural norms and practices such as patronage systems can reinforce corrupt behavior by normalizing the exchange of favors or bribes. 3. Consequences of corruption. Economic impact. Corruption stifles economic growth by increasing the cost of doing business, deterring investment, and misallocating resources. It also leads to inefficiencies in public spending and undermines efforts to reduce poverty. Social impact. Corruption exacerbates inequality by concentrating wealth and power in the hands of a few, while the majority remain marginalized. It also erodes trust in public institutions and diminishes social cohesion. Political impact. Corruption undermines democracy by weakening institutions, eroding the rule of law, and compromising the legitimacy of governments. It can lead to political instability as citizens lose faith in their leaders and demand change. Developmental impact. Corruption diverts resources from critical sectors such as education, healthcare, and infrastructure, hindering sustainable development and perpetuating cycles of poverty. 4. Challenges in fighting corruption. Entrenched interests. Corruption is often deeply entrenched in political and economic systems, making it difficult to root out without significant resistance from those who benefit from it. Lack of political will. In some cases, leaders may lack the political will to combat corruption, particularly if they are complicit in or benefit from corrupt practices. Limited resources. Many African countries face challenges in terms of resources and capacity to effectively fight corruption, including underfunded anti-corruption agencies and weak judicial systems. Global corruption networks. Corruption in Africa is often facilitated by global networks, including offshore banking systems and multinational corporations, which complicates efforts to address it at the national level. Conclusion. Corruption in Africa is a complex and pervasive issue that poses significant obstacles to development, governance, and social justice. Addressing it requires a multifaceted approach that includes strengthening institutions, promoting transparency and accountability, empowering civil society, and fostering international cooperation. While the challenges are immense, there are also success stories of countries making progress in the fight against corruption. Continued efforts at the local, national, and international levels are essential to reduce corruption and unlock Africa's full potential for growth and and development. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and follow our channel for more.